Beneath every symbol and secret teaching lies one truth. The 33rd Degree Freemason is not a title, but a state of consciousness. This audiobook awakens that state within you, revealing how the hidden Codex of creation answers to those who know. The universe itself is waiting for your command. 33rd Degree Freemason Introduction. In the silent chambers of eternal wisdom, there exists a truth so ancient that only those attuned to the higher frequencies can hear its call. The 33rd degree is not a title bestowed by men, but a vibration, a sacred attunement to the architecture of creation itself. Within this sacred resonance, you do not ascend by effort, but by remembrance, remembering what you have always been, a divine expression of the cosmic design. Here, thought is not mere reflection, but the sculptor of worlds. Intention weaves itself into form with the precision of geometry and the grace of light. When your inner trinity, thought, emotion, and will, moves in perfect harmony, the universe bends to your rhythm, for it recognizes its own pattern within you. The mystery teachings whisper that each mind is a compass to infinity, its needle guided by the silent law that governs all manifestation. As you awaken to this alignment, you transcend the illusion of opposites and step into the unified current of being. In this luminous awareness, miracles cease to astonish. They become your natural language. This is the essence of the 33rd degree, the moment when wisdom ceases to be studied and becomes lived, when you become both the creator and the creation, the word and its echo, the stillness and the sound. But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. Part 1. The Foundation of Command. Chapter 1. The Hidden Seal. In a humble workshop tucked away in an ancient village, Clyde the craftsman labored over his creations with meticulous care. Each morning, he would trace his fingers across his tools, chisels worn smooth by decades of use, planes that had shaped countless pieces of timber, yet something was missing. His work, though skilled, lacked the spark of life he knew dwelled within true masterpieces. One evening, as shadows lengthened across his workbench, Clyde noticed an unusual marking etched into the handle of his oldest chisel. The symbol seemed to pulse with an inner light, like a star caught in amber. At first, he dismissed it as a trick of the fading sun, but as he turned away, the tools on his bench began to hum with energy. In that moment, a truth crystallized within him. All these years, he had been asking permission from his tools, from the wood, from the universe itself. He had been seeking approval rather than expressing authority. As this realization dawned, the symbol flared bright, and suddenly his tools moved with newfound grace, as if awakening from a long slumber. The wood yielded to his touch not because he wished it to, but because he knew it would. His certainty became the bridge between thought and form, between intention and reality. The universe did not await his petition. It awaited his knowing. This is the first seal of the Codex. When belief becomes absolute, authority flows without resistance. The cosmos responds not to what you ask for, but to what you know is already yours. In the days that followed, Clyde faced a new challenge. A piece of wood arrived with a deep knot that threatened to ruin his design. His old self would have discarded it, but now he saw differently. Instead of fighting the imperfection, he blessed it, incorporating the knot into his creation. As he worked, the wood seemed to guide his hands, revealing patterns more beautiful than any he could have planned. This revelation speaks to you now. The universe bows not to those who demand, but to those who recognize their own divine authority. Like Clyde's tools coming to life, your world responds to the certainty within your heart. When you cease questioning your worthiness and embrace your role as a conscious creator, reality reshapes itself to match your knowing. The power does not lie in the asking, it lies in the acceptance of what already is. Just as Clyde discovered, mastery emerges when you align with the natural flow of creation, neither forcing nor pleading, but knowing with unwavering clarity. Ancient practice. As the first light of dawn touches the horizon, find a moment of perfect stillness. Let these words rise from the depths of your being. I command through knowing, not wanting. Allow the silence that follows to envelop you like a response from the universe itself. This practice, passed down through generations of masters, aligns your consciousness with the first seal of the Codex. Chapter 2. Geometry of Thought. Find a quiet space where you won't be disturbed. Take 3 deep breaths and close your eyes. Choose one desire you wish to manifest. Rather than thinking about it in words or feelings, begin to construct it in your mind as a 3-dimensional form. See its shape, its structure, its precise dimensions. Rotate this mental construct slowly, examining it from every angle. Add detail after detail until it becomes more solid in your mind than any physical object. In the quietude of her studio, a sculptor named Evelyn stood before countless misshapen forms, each a testament to her frustrated attempts at perfection. Clay after clay, her hands worked tirelessly, yet the results remained distant echoes of the masterpiece she yearned to create. Time after time, she pressed her fingers into the yielding earth, only to step back and see imperfection staring back at her. Then one morning, as sunlight streamed through her workshop windows, Evelyn discovered an ancient scroll hidden within the folds of her grandmother's art supplies. The weathered parchment spoke of a sacred practice. Before the hands shape matter, let the mind shape thought. Following this wisdom, Evelyn closed her eyes and began to practice mental sculpture. In her mind's eye, she constructed each curve, every angle, with mathematical precision. She held the image steady, turning it slowly in her consciousness, examining it from every perspective until it became more real in her thoughts than any physical object before her. Days passed as she refined this inner art. When at last she opened her eyes and approached the clay, her hands moved with supernatural certainty. The material yielded to her touch, as if recognizing the authority of her clearly formed vision. What emerged was not merely sculpture, but manifestation, a perfect translation of thought into form. Word spread of Evelyn's transcendent works, drawing others who sought to understand her method. "How do you achieve such precision?" they asked. Evelyn would smile and point to her temple, saying, "The clay only knows what the mind has already perfected." This truth extends beyond art into the very fabric of existence. Just as Evelyn discovered that mental geometry precedes physical form, you too possess this power of precise creation. The universe awaits your clearly formed thoughts as a template for manifestation. When you align your mental architecture with exactitude, reality has no choice but to conform to your vision. Your thoughts are not mere wishes cast into the void. They are blueprints that the universe studies with devoted attention. Every detail you crystallize in consciousness becomes a command that matter must obey. This is not the realm of vague hoping, but of exact knowing. Practice. The sacred geometry of thought. Find stillness, breathe deeply, and daily shape your desire as a vivid, solid mental form until imagination becomes reality's blueprint. Chapter 3. Light Commands Shadow. In a mountain monastery, there lived a monk named Milton who feared the approaching darkness each evening. As shadows lengthened across stone walls, his heart would quicken, and he'd rush to light every lamp before night fell. The other monks observed his frantic ritual with knowing eyes, recognizing in his struggle a reflection of humanity's eternal dance with darkness. One evening, as Milton hurried to ignite the final lamp, an aged master approached. "Why do you flee from shadow?" the master asked, his voice gentle as falling snow. "Because darkness brings uncertainty," Milton replied, his hands trembling with the lamp. The master led Milton to the monastery's highest terrace. "Watch," he commanded. As the sun descended, the valley below transformed. Mountains cast long shadows that painted the landscape in stunning contrasts. Villages sparkled like scattered gems against the deepening twilight. "Behold the truth that has eluded you," the master spoke. "Light does not conquer darkness. It dances with it. Each shadow gives depth to brightness. Each darkness defines the light. They are not enemies but partners in an eternal waltz." This revelation opened Milton's eyes to the universal law of duality. He began to understand that his fear of darkness had blinded him to half of existence's wisdom. Just as the brightest flame casts the deepest shadow, so too did his greatest fears point the way to his profound strength. The teaching whispers an ageless truth. Mastery flows not from eliminating what we fear, but from recognizing its sacred purpose. Every shadow in your life stands ready to serve your awakening. Each fear carries within it the seeds of enlightenment, waiting to be transformed through understanding. In time, Milton's relationship with darkness evolved. During one particularly moonless night, rather than rushing to light the lamps, he sat in the temple's main hall, embracing the darkness. As his eyes adjusted, he discovered that darkness itself held its own kind of light, subtle, mysterious, yet undeniably present. A traveling merchant, seeing Milton's peaceful countenance in both light and shadow, asked him about his secret. Milton smiled and said, "I no longer command the darkness to become light. Instead, I invite both to teach me their wisdom. Fear becomes the torch that illuminates the path when we stop running from its flame. This truth extends to all aspects of existence. What you resist persists not to torment you, but to transform you. Every obstacle, every fear, every moment of darkness serves as a master teacher in disguise. The universe's perfect order reveals itself when you recognize that what appears to oppose you actually aligns you with greater power. The darkness you fear contains precisely the wisdom you seek. Your shadows are not your enemies. They are your most devoted teachers, waiting to reveal their gifts the moment you embrace their presence. Practice the shadow's blessing. When fear appears, pause, breathe, meet it as a messenger, and let its energy become light for your awakening. Chapter 4. The Spoken Circuit. In a village known for its whispered wisdom, there lived a poet named Marjorie who spent her days crafting verses in a small cottage overlooking mist-covered hills. One morning, while writing about golden leaves falling from autumn trees, she noticed something extraordinary. The green leaves outside her window began to turn gold before her eyes, exactly as her words described. At first, she dismissed this as coincidence, until her poems about gentle rain summoned clouds, and her verses about butterflies brought forth a dance of wings in her garden. The universe, it seemed, was attuning itself to the frequency of her carefully chosen words. The power of vibration extends beyond mere sound. It is the fundamental language of creation. Just as a crystal glass shatters at the perfect pitch, reality responds to the resonance of intentional speech. Your words carry more than meaning. They bear the weight of creative force itself. When you speak with absolute clarity and conviction, you activate an ancient mechanism of manifestation. Each syllable sends ripples through the fabric of existence, arranging particles according to your expressed intention. This is not magic, but natural law, the same principle that allows a singer's voice to shape patterns in sand. Yet Marjorie's greatest discovery came through silence. One day, after writing a particularly powerful verse, she held her tongue and simply observed. The manifestation that followed was swift and precise, teaching her that words were merely training wheels for thought. In the space between syllables, in the pregnant pause of perfect knowing, lay an even greater power. The universe responds not to volume, but to certainty. It obeys not the force of speech, but the clarity of intention. Words serve as bridges between thought and form, but pure thought, held in crystal clarity, needs no verbal expression to command reality's response. Think of your words as tuning forks, each one setting neighboring realities into sympathetic vibration. When you speak with purpose, you're not merely describing, you're prescribing. The universe bends toward the frequency of absolute conviction, whether expressed through sound or held in silence. Marjorie learned to wield both voice and silence as instruments of creation. Her poems became prayers, her pauses became power, and the world around her danced to the rhythm of her intentional expression.
Ancient practice.
Choose one sentence that embodies your deepest truth or most cherished desire. Speak it aloud once each day with complete conviction, as if you're stating an irrefutable fact. Then maintain absolute silence for several minutes, allowing the vibration of your words to ripple outward uninterrupted. Notice how the universe begins to align with the frequency of your declaration. Chapter 5. The Twin Pillars of Desire. In a village high in the mountains lived Leonard, a weaver of magnificent dreams but a hesitant weaver of cloth. Each morning he would envision splendid tapestries that could rival the sunrise, yet his loom remained untouched, gathering dust in the corner of his modest home. His hands, capable of creating beauty, remained idle while his mind soared through endless possibilities. The villagers spoke of Leonard's gift for describing the most intricate patterns and designs, yet none had ever seen his work. "Tomorrow," he would say, "tomorrow I shall begin." But tomorrow became yesterday, and still the threads lay untouched. One night, a mysterious traveler appeared at Leonard's door. The stranger's cloak seemed to shimmer with patterns that moved like living things. "I see you possess the gift of vision," the traveler said. "But vision without action is like a bird with one wing." The universe speaks through the language of balance. Your thoughts shape reality, but they must find harmony with your actions. Like breath itself, creation follows a natural rhythm of receiving and releasing, of dreaming and doing. When you hold a vision within your mind, you tap into the infinite potential of the great mind. Yet this connection remains incomplete until you grant yourself permission to bring it forth. The act of creation requires both the spark of imagination and the courage to let it ignite. Many believe that manifestation demands constant control, an iron grip on every detail of their desire. This misconception keeps countless dreams suspended in the realm of thought, never touching the earth of experience. True command flows from perfect equilibrium between passionate intention and graceful surrender. Leonard learned this truth when the stranger guided him to his loom. "Close your eyes," the traveler instructed, "and feel the pattern you wish to create." Leonard saw in his mind's eye a design of unprecedented beauty. "Now," the stranger continued, "give your hands permission to know what your heart sees." For the first time, Leonard began to weave without questioning, without doubting. His fingers moved with certainty while his mind remained open to divine guidance. The pattern that emerged was even more beautiful than what he had imagined, for it combined his vision with the wisdom of surrender. The universe responds not to force, but to harmony. When you align your imagination with trust in the natural flow of creation, you activate a power greater than control. This is the sacred marriage of vision and faith, of holding and releasing. Years later, Leonard became known not just for his dreams, but for the breathtaking tapestries that seemed to weave themselves through his willing hands. He had discovered that miracles unfold not through rigid determination, but through the delicate dance of intention and allowance. The practice. In stillness, breathe your desire into clarity, exhaling control, inhaling trust, until vision and surrender flow in perfect harmony. Chapter 6. The Silent Architecture. In a bustling city lived Betty, an architect whose visions reached toward the heavens but whose buildings refused to stand. Her designs won awards for their beauty, yet each structure she built developed mysterious cracks, as if the very stones rejected their appointed places. Despite her technical mastery, something essential eluded her grasp. You see, within every creation lies an invisible foundation, a silence that precedes form. This truth remains hidden from those who rush to build before finding stillness within themselves. The universe's first language is not motion, but the quiet from which all motion springs. Betty worked tirelessly, drafting plans late into the night, her mind racing with calculations and possibilities. Yet with each new attempt, the same pattern emerged, hairline fractures appearing like spider webs across her walls, foundations settling unevenly, as if the buildings themselves were restless. The great mind teaches that all enduring structures in creation mirror the stillness of their conception. When thoughts whirl like autumn leaves, they scatter the power of intention. Just as muddy water cannot reflect the sky, a turbulent mind cannot transmit clear instructions to the material world. One evening, exhausted from another failed project, Betty discovered an ancient scroll tucked away in her grandfather's study. Its weathered chapters contained no architectural drawings, only instructions for finding the space between thoughts. Intrigued, she began practicing this forgotten art each morning before touching her drafting tools. At first, the stillness felt foreign, uncomfortable. Her mind resisted the quiet like a child resisting sleep. But gradually, she discovered a deeper current beneath her thinking, a vast silence that held all possibilities in perfect balance. From this new foundation, Betty approached her work differently. Before drawing a single line, she would sit in meditation until her mind became like a mountain lake at dawn, crystal clear, perfectly reflecting. In this state, designs arose not from frantic calculation, but from the same silence that holds the stars in their courses. Her next building rose from the earth like a poem in stone, every element in harmony with the whole. No cracks appeared, no foundations shifted. The structure stood as if it had grown naturally from the ground itself, as stable as an ancient oak. The universe responds not to the noise of our desires, but to the clarity of our silence. When you learn to create from stillness, you align with the original architecture of creation itself. This is why the great masters of every art first master the art of inner quiet. In time, Betty's reputation transformed. Where once she was known for ambitious failures, now her buildings were celebrated for their organic stability, their natural grace. She had discovered the secret that lies at the heart of all lasting creation. Form follows silence. The practice. Before beginning any endeavor, seat yourself comfortably and close your eyes. Allow your breath to slow naturally, like waves gradually calming on a shore. Wait until your thoughts settle like dust in still air. When you feel the geometry of silence crystallize within, only then begin your work. This practice aligns your actions with the universe's original blueprint, the stillness from which all things emerge. Chapter 7. The Mirror of Obedience. In ancient times, a merchant named Howard trudged through life bemoaning his misfortunes. Each morning, he would stand before his bronze mirror, listing grievances against fate. His business faltered, his relationships soured, and his dreams remained distant mirages. "The world conspires against me," he would declare to his reflection. One morning, as Howard recited his usual litany of complaints, something extraordinary occurred. His reflection ceased to mimic his movements. Instead, it stood straight and dignified, while Howard hunched and gestured. The reflection's eyes held a wisdom that pierced Howard's soul. "I show you what you show me," the reflection spoke. "Your chaos commands chaos. Your blame summons blame. Your weakness decrees weakness." Howard stumbled back, but could not escape the truth he witnessed. In that moment he understood. His reflection had always been teaching him the supreme law. The universe operates as a perfect mirror. Every thought, word, and feeling generates its identical twin in the realm of manifestation. This is not metaphor but mathematics, the precise science of cosmic reflection. When you transmit confusion, existence has no choice but to reflect confusion. When you emanate certainty, the universe must mirror certainty. This mirroring occurs with exact precision. There is no randomness in the reflection of consciousness. Just as a still lake perfectly mirrors the sky above, the universe reflects the quality of command within you. Your inner state of being creates ripples that become the waves of your circumstances. Many seek to change their reflection while maintaining the same inner image. This is like trying to adjust your mirror image without changing your pose. The universe can only reflect what you present to it. Your outer world will shift only when your inner world transforms. Consider how a mirror operates. It does not judge, interpret, or alter. It simply returns exactly what stands before it. The universe mirrors your consciousness with this same fidelity. When you radiate scattered energy, scattered circumstances appear. When you emanate focused power, focused results manifest. Howard learned this truth through an unexpected teacher, his own reflection. After years of seeing his circumstances as random attacks of fate, he finally understood they were precise reflections of his inner governance. Years later, Howard had become known for his uncanny ability to restore order to any situation. When asked his secret, he would smile and say, "I learned to command my reflection." He had discovered that authority begins within. Before attempting to direct external circumstances, he would first establish perfect clarity in his own consciousness. Only then would he act, knowing the universe must mirror his inner precision. Your life experiences are not happening to you. They are reflecting from you. Every circumstance, relationship, and outcome mirrors your inner state of command. When you truly grasp this principle, you hold the key to universal obedience. The cosmos awaits your clarity. It stands ready to reflect whatever quality of consciousness you choose to embody. This is not wishful thinking, but cosmic law, as exact as mathematics, as reliable as physics. Practice. When chaos appears in your world, resist the urge to combat it directly. Instead, turn within and whisper with absolute conviction, "I mirror only precision." Hold this truth until you feel its resonance in every cell. Watch as the outer world aligns itself with your inner command, for it has no choice but to reflect the clarity you have become. Chapter 8. The King Without a Crown. In a modest village lived a woman named Florence, who spent her days tending to the needs of others. From dawn until dusk, she hurried between homes, healing the sick, comforting the grieving, and nourishing the hungry. Yet with each act of service, she felt her own power diminishing, as though giving meant becoming less. Each evening, Florence returned home feeling drained, wondering why her endless generosity left her feeling powerless rather than fulfilled. She carried this burden until one night, when an ancient wise woman appeared in her dreams. "You serve as though service depletes you," the wise woman spoke. "Yet the sun does not dim by sharing its light, nor does the spring run dry by offering its water." The truth of these words stirred something deep within Florence's spirit. For years she had seen service and power as opposing forces, never realizing they were one and the same. Through this awakening, the universal law unveils itself. True authority flows not from dominion over others, but through the channel of selfless presence. When you release the need to possess power, you become its purest vessel. The universe responds not to those who grasp, but to those who embody its giving nature. As your consciousness expands to embrace this truth, you begin to understand that every act of genuine service amplifies your connection to the cosmic force that orchestrates all creation. This is not the power of control, but the authority of alignment, where your will merges with the divine will. In time, Florence's service transformed. No longer did she rush from task to task, depleted and diminished. Instead, she moved with quiet grace, each action flowing from a place of centered strength. To the villager's amazement, her mere presence began to heal before her hands touched the sick. Her silent compassion brought peace before she spoke a word of comfort. The universe had recognized in her the quality it most responds to, the perfect balance of humility and divine authority. As she served without seeking power, power naturally flowed through her. The more she gave of herself, the more the universe gave through her. This paradox holds the key to cosmic cooperation. When you surrender the need to command, you become worthy of command. When you release the desire to control, you gain true influence. The universe mirrors back the authority you embody, not the authority you claim. In Florence's transformation lies the essential teaching. Command is not seized, but received. It manifests not through force of will, but through the quiet authority of a heart aligned with universal law. The cosmos naturally yields to those who serve from this sacred space of power through presence. Practice. Stand in quiet dignity, feeling each heartbeat as a pulse of divine authority. Let each beat remind you that true power flows through service, not from it. Imagine each heartbeat sending ripples of compassion through the fabric of reality, knowing that in this state of loving presence, you naturally command the cooperation of universal law. Chapter 9. The Law of the Triple Flame. In a village known for its master craftsmen, Douglas toiled endlessly at his workbench. His mind brimmed with visions of extraordinary creations, yet his hands produced only ordinary works. When passion filled his heart, his thoughts scattered like autumn leaves. When his thoughts achieved clarity, his hands grew cold and mechanical. "I am fractured," he whispered to the empty workshop one evening. "My mind dreams, my heart yearns, but my hands betray both." That night, an ancient artisan appeared in his dreams, drawing 3 intertwining flames in the dust. "These flames represent the trinity of manifestation," the sage explained. "Mind, heart, and hand. When separate, they flicker weakly. When united, they forge reality itself." The universe operates through this sacred triad. Thought without feeling remains ghostly and unfulfilled. Emotion without action burns bright but produces no lasting change. Action without wisdom creates hollow forms devoid of spirit. This trinity exists within all acts of true creation. The mind conceives the pattern, the heart infuses it with life force, and the hands give it form in the physical realm. When these 3 flames dance as one, you tap into the primal creative force that shapes worlds. Yet most drift through life with these forces in discord. Their thoughts race ahead while their hearts lag behind. Their hands move without the guidance of either. This misalignment is the source of all frustrated manifestation. Years later, a young apprentice found Douglas in his workshop, surrounded by works of singular beauty. "How did you achieve such mastery?" the youth asked. Douglas smiled and held up 3 fingers. "I once tried to force these aspects into cooperation, but they refused to be commanded. Then I learned to let them naturally align through presence. Now, before each creation, I take one conscious breath. As I inhale, my mind grows clear. As I hold the breath, my heart grows still. As I exhale, my hands know exactly what to do." The works in Douglas's shop testified to this threefold harmony. Each piece emerged from the perfect synchronicity of vision, love, and skillful action. He had discovered that mastery comes not from dominance of one aspect over the others, but from their willing dance together. Your own creative force awaits this same alignment. When thought, feeling, and action move as one, the universe responds with identical harmony. This is the secret encoded in the symbol of three flames, the Trinity, that transforms possibility into reality. Ancient practice. Before making any significant decision or beginning any important work, pause for one complete breath cycle. As you inhale, gather your thoughts into clarity. As you hold the breath, allow your emotions to settle into calm certainty. As you exhale, feel your body ready itself for aligned action. This single breath unites the three flames of manifestation, preparing the way for creation that bears the signature of wholeness. Chapter 10. The Circle and the Point. A young artisan named Vera spent her days creating intricate pottery, each piece unique yet somehow flawed in her eyes. She yearned to craft vessels of perfect symmetry while preserving the distinctive touch that made her work recognizable. How can something be both perfect and individual? She wondered, her hands hovering over the clay. One morning, an elderly mathematician visited her workshop. Without speaking, he took her compass and drew a perfect circle on a sheet of paper. "Observe," he said. "The point at the center never moves, yet it guides the line to create endless perfection. The circle is always the same, yet each one you draw becomes unique through your touch." When the will aligns with universal law, perfection and individuality dance as one. Like the compass point remaining fixed while the line moves freely, your essence stays centered while your expression flows outward. This represents the highest teaching of the Codex. That divine pattern and personal signature are not opponents, but partners in creation. The universe operates through precise mathematical principles, yet each snowflake, leaf, and galaxy expresses unique beauty. This seeming paradox reveals a deeper truth. Perfection is not rigid conformity, but the complete expression of inner law through individual form. In time, Vera understood that her work could embody both universal harmony and personal touch. She began centering herself in stillness before touching the clay, allowing her hands to move as instruments of a greater design. Her pottery now carried an unmistakable signature while reflecting cosmic proportion. Once she discovered this balance, each piece emerged as though the universe itself shaped it through her fingers. She had found the secret, that true mastery comes not from imposing will, but from becoming a clear channel for divine pattern to flow through individual expression. What Vera learned applies to all creation. When you align your unique essence with universal law, you need not choose between cosmic perfection and personal truth. They become one movement, like the compass drawing its circle, fixed at the center, free at the edges. The power to command existence flows naturally when you recognize yourself as both the still point and the moving line. Your individual expression becomes the very voice through which universal law speaks. This is not a diminishment of self, but its highest fulfillment. Ancient practice. Assume a comfortable position and close your eyes. Visualize a luminous circle pulsing around your heart, the center and circumference harmonized. Feel yourself as both the fixed point from which all movement flows and the moving line that draws creation into being. Let this unity of stillness and motion remind you that your unique essence and universal law are one. Maintain this visualization for several minutes, allowing your breath to flow naturally as you experience being both the center and the circle. Part 2. The Mechanics of Manifestation. Chapter 11. The Ladder of Frequencies. In a bustling marketplace, a merchant named George struggled to maintain his inner peace amidst the cacophony of haggling voices, clanging pots, and bleating animals. Each night he would return home with his mind in turmoil, unable to find solace even in sleep. One night, in his dreams, he encountered a mysterious ladder made entirely of sound. Each rung vibrated at a different frequency. The lowest rungs hummed with deep, heavy tones of worry and confusion, while the higher rungs sang with crystalline clarity. As he ascended this sonic stairway, his consciousness transformed with each step. The universe speaks in octaves of vibration. From the densest matter to the most refined thought, all existence arranges itself in an ascending scale of frequency. Your emotional state determines which level of this cosmic hierarchy responds to your presence. When you operate from lower vibrations, fear, anger, despair, the universe mirrors back experiences matching that density. But as you elevate your emotional tone, matter itself begins to dance to a higher song. This is not mere metaphor, but the exact science of manifestation. George began to understand that his chaotic surroundings reflected his internal discord. Rather than fighting against the noise, he learned to raise his own vibrational signature. He started each morning by attuning himself to subtle beauties, the way sunlight played on dewdrops, the gentle rhythm of his breath, the warmth of gratitude in his heart. To his amazement, the marketplace began to transform. What once seemed like meaningless noise revealed itself as a symphony of life. Customers who previously argued now spoke with respect. Even the animals seemed calmer in his presence. He hadn't changed his outer circumstances. He had shifted his resonance. The ladder of sound teaches that command over circumstances comes not through force, but through frequency. As you ascend to higher emotional octaves, the physical world naturally reorganizes itself to match your new vibration. This is why masters of old spoke of raising your consciousness. They understood that elevation of thought directly influences matter's behavior. One day, a violent argument erupted near George's stall. Instead of being drawn into the discord, he maintained his higher emotional tone, focusing on the underlying harmony of life. Within moments, the quarreling parties felt the influence of his elevated state and found themselves naturally moving toward resolution. This demonstrates the Codex's principle. Matter obeys the highest vibration present. When you consistently hold an elevated emotional frequency, the lower vibrations must either transform or fade from your experience. Like a musical note seeking harmony, the universe adjusts itself to match your inner song. Ancient practice. Pause, notice one thing of beauty, and let that single recognition lift you into higher harmony with creation itself. Chapter 12. The Altar Within. In ancient times, there lived a woman named Daisy, who traveled far and wide, searching sacred temples for divine power. From mountain monasteries to desert sanctuaries, she sought the blessing of every holy site, believing that somewhere, in some distant shrine, she would discover the authority to command her destiny. For years she journeyed, collecting prayers and rituals, studying with mystics and sages. Yet with each new temple, her spirit grew more restless. The power she sought remained elusive, like water slipping through her fingers. One evening, as the sun painted the sky in hues of amber and gold, Daisy rested beneath a flowering tree. Exhausted from her endless quest, she placed her hand over her heart and felt its steady rhythm. In that moment, something shifted within her consciousness. The beat of her heart echoed like a drum in a vast chamber, and she realized she had been carrying the most sacred temple all along. The truth stands eternal. The heart holds the highest altar. Within your chest beats the drum of creation itself. Every breath draws divine presence through the sanctuary of your being. You need not journey to distant lands or climb remote peaks. The power you seek resides in the holy chamber of your own heart. When Daisy embraced this wisdom, her search transformed. Instead of seeking external validation, she began honoring her breath as sacred ceremony. Each inhale became an invitation for divine guidance, each exhale a release into trust. The universe responded not to her desperate seeking, but to her recognition of the power already present within. This marks the difference between supplication and command. When you pray outward, you remain separate from the source of power. But when you recognize your heart as the true altar, prayer transforms into decree. The breath becomes your scepter, the heartbeat your crown. In the depths of night, Daisy discovered that by simply placing her attention on her heart's rhythm, wisdom would flow naturally. The guidance she had desperately sought in temples and shrines now arose effortlessly from within. Her breath, once taken for granted, revealed itself as the bridge between human will and divine action. You, too, carry this sacred altar within your chest. Every heartbeat rings through the chambers of creation. Each breath draws forth the power of the universe itself. When you honor this inner temple, you need not beg or plead. Your intentions naturally align with the cosmic order. Remember, the holiest shrine exists within you. Your heart beats in perfect rhythm with the pulse of creation. Your breath connects you to the infinite source of all power. When you recognize this truth, prayer becomes unnecessary, for you speak directly through the authority of your being. Sacred practice. Place your palm over your heart, breathe and say, I house all sacred authority. Chapter 13. Invisible Architecture of Time. A merchant named Norman rushed through life as if chased by invisible forces. Each morning he would spring from bed, heart already racing with thoughts of all he must accomplish. His days blurred together in a frantic dance of deadlines and demands. The more he hurried, the more life seemed to resist his efforts, like a stream flowing against his direction. One evening, exhausted from another day of chasing time, Norman encountered an old clockmaker in the town square. The elder sat peacefully amidst dozens of timepieces, each moving at its own rhythm, some fast, some slow, some barely moving at all. "Why do you run from what flows endlessly?" the clockmaker asked, adjusting a pendulum with gentle precision. The question pierced Norman's hurried thoughts. He watched as the clockmaker demonstrated how each timepiece responded differently to his touch. The gentler his adjustments, the more smoothly they operated. Time is not a harsh master, but a subtle medium, shaped by the vibration of our approach. Those who rush against its current find resistance, while those who align with its natural flow discover its malleable nature. Like water, time yields to those who understand its essence. When you recognize time as a responsive element rather than an opposing force, its very fabric begins to bend to your will. Each moment expands or contracts according to the frequency of your consciousness. Urgency creates turbulence in the field of manifestation, while calm deliberation allows events to arrange themselves in perfect sequence. To command time is to first master your relationship with it. The universe responds not to the volume of your activity, but to the resonance of your presence. When you move with measured awareness, reality reshapes itself around your centered state. A month later, Norman encountered the clockmaker again. This time, he shared a different story. By slowing his rhythms and treating time as an ally rather than an adversary, his business had flourished. Opportunities emerged naturally, deals closed effortlessly, and despite doing less, he accomplished more. This transformation reveals a fundamental truth. The universe bends not to the force of your will, but to the harmony of your being. When you cease wrestling with time, it becomes a canvas for your intentions rather than a constraint upon them. The ancient practice. Before responding to stress, stretch the moment into still eternity. Breathe deeply and imagine time expanding around you like ripples in a calm pool. Let each breath create space within the moment until urgency dissolves into pure presence. In this expanded state, act with deliberate grace, knowing that time serves those who honor its flow. Before we get into the next chapter, you can download a free ebook version of this audiobook using the link in the pinned comment below this video. Chapter 14. The Hidden Compass. In a bustling marketplace, a young woman named Josie stood paralyzed at a crossroads, clutching a weathered map. Though skilled in navigation, she found herself unable to determine her next step. Each direction seemed equally compelling, yet somehow wrong. The voices of merchants and travelers swirled around her, their certainty in their own paths only highlighting her hesitation. A warm breeze stirred, carrying with it the scent of jasmine. Something within her responded, a subtle pull like a silk thread tugging at her heart. For a moment she resisted, reaching again for her map. Yet the feeling persisted, growing stronger with each breath. The universe speaks not through the clamor of external voices, but through the quiet wisdom that stirs within. This ancient truth reveals itself in moments of stillness, when the noise of rational thought subsides enough for deeper knowing to emerge. Your heart carries within it a compass more precise than any instrument crafted by human hands. This internal guidance system aligns perfectly with the universal flow, leading you unerringly toward your highest path. Yet many turn away from its whispers, seeking instead the false security of external validation. The law of divine direction operates through this subtle mechanism. When you align with your inner compass, the universe rearranges itself to support your journey. This is not mere coincidence, but the natural response of creation to authentic movement. In Josie's second encounter with uncertainty, she found herself in an unfamiliar city as night approached. Instead of consulting her maps or asking strangers, she closed her eyes and felt for that familiar inner pull. Following this silent guidance, She navigated through winding streets with unexpected ease, arriving precisely where she needed to be. This experience mirrors your own journey. Each time you trust the quiet knowing within, you strengthen your connection to universal intelligence. The compass becomes clearer, its signals stronger, until guidance flows as naturally as breathing. Your intuition is not separate from universal law. It is universal law expressing through you. When you honor this inner knowing, you demonstrate command of the highest order. This is not the command of force or will, but of alignment and flow. The universe responds not to your thoughts or words, but to the resonance of your being. When you move in harmony with your inner compass, reality shapes itself around your path. Doors open, obstacles dissolve, and synchronicity becomes your constant companion. Sacred practice. Follow your first peaceful impulse today. It is the compass whispering truth. Chapter 15. The Law of Reflection. A merchant named Calvin sat at his counting table each evening, noting every slight and offense committed against him throughout the day. In his leather-bound ledger, he recorded the names of those who had wronged him: the baker who delivered bread late, the courier who misplaced a package, the apprentice who dropped a valuable vase. "These people conspire against my success," he would mutter, his quill scratching bitter words onto the chapters. "They lack discipline, integrity, dedication." Each night his list grew longer, his fortune mysteriously smaller. The universe holds a perfect mirror before each soul. Your judgments do not strike outward. They curve through space and time to shape your own experience. When you point a finger at another's flaw, you draw that very quality into sharper focus within yourself. Calvin's ledger of grievances became a spellbook of self-fulfillment. The more harshly he condemned others' carelessness, the more frequently precious items slipped from his own hands. His criticisms of others' tardiness manifested as missed opportunities. Every judgment he cast returned home with mathematical precision. This is the reflection principle at work. The cosmos ensures that what you project outward shapes what flows back to you. Your accusations become attractions. Your condemnations become invitations. The universe, in its infinite wisdom, brings you exactly what you energetically broadcast through your judgments of others. One morning, as Calvin prepared to note another transgression in his ledger, he caught his own reflection in a polished bronze mirror. For the first time, he saw himself through the lens he used to view others. The harshness in his eyes, the tension in his jaw, the weight of accumulated resentment, it all stood revealed. In that moment of recognition, something shifted. Instead of recording the day's offenses, Calvin wrote words of understanding. "The baker works through the night to feed our town. The courier carries hundreds of hopes in his satchel each day. My apprentice strives to learn and grow." As his perspective softened, so did his circumstances. The mirror of life began reflecting back warmth instead of criticism, cooperation instead of conflict. His business flourished not through harsh judgment, but through understanding. What he had perceived as others' failures transformed into opportunities for connection and growth. When you release the habit of judgment, you free yourself from its reflective consequences. The universe responds not to your criticisms, but to your state of being. As you extend compassion outward, it returns multiplied. As you offer understanding, clarity dawns. As you release the need to condemn, you step into the flow of natural abundance. Your relationships become your teachers, each interaction offering a chance to choose love over judgment. Every person who triggers criticism presents an opportunity to heal the corresponding shadow within yourself. The mirror never lies. It simply shows you where healing is needed. Ancient practice. Select someone whose actions or attitudes disturb you. Close your eyes and picture them surrounded by golden light. Say silently, "I bless you. I release judgment. I choose to see the divine within you." Feel the mirror between you dissolve into pure awareness. Hold this blessing until you sense peace replacing criticism in your heart. Chapter 16. The Guardian Thought. In a small mountain village there lived a weaver named Polly whose tapestries shimmered with extraordinary beauty, but only in her dreams. Each morning she would sit at her loom, envisioning masterpieces that would bring joy to all who beheld them. Yet, as her fingers worked the threads, a familiar whisper would surface. "Your work will never be good enough." As surely as water follows the path carved in stone, her creations would unravel before completion. The colors would fade, the patterns would tangle, and her hopes would dissolve into familiar disappointment. This is the way of the universe, not as punishment, but as perfect reflection. Your predominant thought stands as a guardian at the gate of manifestation, allowing passage only to those creations that match its frequency. This sentinel belief, planted deep in the soil of consciousness, determines which seeds of intention may flourish and which must wither. The power lies not in the multitude of your desires, but in the singular clarity of your deepest conviction. 1,000 wishes cannot overcome one firmly rooted belief. The universe responds not to the volume of your requests, but to the resonance of your truth. One day, as Polly prepared to abandon another imperfect work, an old woman appeared at her door. "Your threads are fine," the woman observed, "but your thoughts are tangled." She guided Polly to close her eyes and listen to the constant commentary within. There, beneath the surface hopes and fleeting dreams, stood the guardian thought that had shaped her reality. "I am not worthy of creating beauty." The ancient wisdom teaches that awareness itself begins transformation. Like a candle illuminating a dark room, consciousness reveals what was hidden but ever present. The second you recognize your guardian thought, its power begins to shift. Polly learned to sit in silence each morning, acknowledging this deep belief without judgment. Gradually, she began replacing it with a new truth. "I am the channel through which beauty flows." Her fingers remembered their wisdom. Her threads found their harmony. Her tapestries began to mirror the magnificence she had always held within. This is the law by which the universe operates. Your predominant belief acts as the master pattern from which all manifestation takes its form. Change this single thought, and you alter the entire fabric of your experience. Practice of reflection. In the sacred silence of dawn or dusk, sit quietly and listen to your inner dialogue. Beneath the surface chatter lies a constant refrain, your guardian thought. Once identified, hold it gently in your awareness. Then, with the same care you would show a child, offer a new truth in its place. Speak this fresh belief with quiet certainty until it becomes your natural song. The universe will have no choice but to reflect this new frequency in the mirror of your life. Chapter 17. The Chain of Correspondence. High in a mountain observatory, beneath a tapestry of stars, Harriet peered through her telescope night after night. Though her instruments measured cosmic distances with precision, something deeper eluded her calculations. In moments of stillness between observations, she began noticing subtle threads of light, not through her lens but in her mind's eye. These ethereal strands connected each star to every other, weaving patterns more intricate than any constellation chart could capture. The ancient axiom whispers truth, as above, so below. What occurs in the vastness of space mirrors the dance of atoms in your palm. This correspondence forms the foundation of universal command. When you grasp this principle, you unlock the power to influence reality through resonance rather than force. The universe operates as an unbroken whole, each part intimately connected to every other through invisible threads of energy and information. Your thoughts do not stop at the boundary of your skull. They ripple outward through the quantum field, touching all of creation. This is not metaphor, but mechanism, the literal physics of manifestation. In her second breakthrough, Harriet discovered that these links of light didn't just connect celestial bodies. They flowed through all things: plants, animals, people, even seemingly inanimate objects. With growing wonder, she realized that blessing one point in this cosmic web sent ripples of positive change throughout the entire system. Her private recognition of unity had become a lever that moved worlds. This revelation transforms personal power into universal influence. When you truly understand that nothing exists in isolation, you cease trying to force change through individual will. Instead, you learn to trust the natural resonance of interconnected systems. Your clear intention, aligned with cosmic law, travels instantly through the quantum chain of being. The universe obeys not because you demand, but because it recognizes itself in you. You are not separate from the system you wish to influence. You are an integral node in the living network of reality. Your every thought sends waves through the cosmic web. Understanding this correspondence is the key to expanding your sphere of influence beyond personal boundaries into universal scope. Practice. Find a quiet moment and center yourself in deep stillness. Begin to visualize gleaming threads of golden light extending from your heart to every person, creature, and thing in your awareness. See these strands stretching to the stars, connecting you to the furthest reaches of space. Feel gratitude flowing both ways along these sacred links, from you to all of creation, and from all of creation back to you. Let this exchange remind you of your place in the living tapestry of being. Through this practice, you'll strengthen your recognition of unity and expand your natural ability to create positive change throughout the cosmic web. Chapter 18. The Breath of Command. In a bustling marketplace, Walter struggled to maintain his small spice shop. Each day brought new setbacks: spoiled merchandise, missing deliveries, and dwindling customers. His hands trembled as he arranged jars of exotic seasonings, the weight of impending bankruptcy pressing upon his shoulders. One morning, an elderly merchant named Chen paused at his stall. Noting Walter's distress, he spoke softly. "Your breath betrays your spirit." Walter looked up, puzzled. Chen continued, "Watch how you breathe, shallow, hurried, fearful. The universe mirrors such patterns. The truth flows eternal. Your breath carries the signature of your authority. Each inhalation draws in universal force. Each exhalation sends forth your decree. The ancients understood this sacred science, that breath bridges the visible and invisible realms. When you breathe without awareness, you transmit uncertainty to the cosmic field. Your scattered breath creates scattered circumstances. But when you infuse each breath with clear intention, you activate the primal language of creation. This is not mere metaphor. It is the fundamental mechanism by which consciousness shapes reality. Consider how a master musician's breath guides their instrument, or how a skilled glassblower's controlled exhalation shapes molten sand into crystal vessels. Your breath holds similar creative power over the substance of life itself. In the days that followed, Walter began practicing what Chen had taught him. Before opening his shop each morning, he would stand quietly, breathing with purposeful awareness. He imagined each inhalation drawing in divine order, each exhalation sending forth harmony into his surroundings. Within weeks, the atmosphere of his shop transformed. Customers remarked on the sense of peace they felt upon entering. Suppliers arrived on time, merchandise remained fresh longer, and his ledgers showed increasing prosperity. Walter had discovered that one centered breath could indeed turn chaos into order. This wisdom echoes through the ages. Every breath, when properly aligned with intention, becomes a command to the universe. You need not shout your desires or force your will upon creation. The subtle power of conscious breathing carries more authority than all external action. The breath practice. Find a quiet moment and settle into stillness. Draw breath slowly into your depths, feeling it fill you with pure creative force. Hold briefly at the peak, allowing the energy to saturate your being. As you exhale, sense your breath carrying clear instruction to the universe. Continue this rhythm, inhaling authority, exhaling harmony, until each breath flows like a law being fulfilled in the moment of its utterance. Let your respiration become revelation, each cycle a silent command honored by all of creation. Chapter 19. The Veil of Knowing. In a remote mountain village, Sadie spent her days weaving intricate tapestries, yet felt increasingly frustrated by life's apparent disorder. Her threads tangled without reason, colors faded unexpectedly, and patterns emerged different from her careful plans. Each setback deepened her doubt in divine order. One misty dawn, she discovered an ancient loom hidden in her grandmother's attic. Unlike ordinary looms, this one bore curious markings, symbols that seemed to shift in the dawn light. As she traced them with trembling fingers, an unusual peace settled over her. She began to weave. At first, the threads appeared to move chaotically, defying her direction. But gradually, she noticed something extraordinary. When she relaxed her grip on control, the patterns formed themselves with unexpected beauty. What looked like mistakes from the front revealed themselves as essential elements from another angle. The universe operates through similar principles of concealment and revelation. What appears as chaos often masks a higher order, one that unfolds according to its own sacred timing. Your role is not to force understanding, but to maintain steadfast trust in the process. In the weeks that followed, Sadie's approach to life transformed. Rather than fighting uncertainty, she welcomed it as a teacher. When clients requested impossible deadlines, she learned to smile and wait. Invariably, delays revealed hidden blessings, a chance meeting that led to a better opportunity, or a sudden insight that improved her original design. The second passage of her journey came during the village's annual festival. Asked to create a ceremonial tapestry, she faced her greatest challenge, working with threads that changed color in unpredictable ways. Instead of resisting, she surrendered to their rhythm. The resulting work captured light itself, shifting like aurora across the night sky. This truth remains constant. Divine order operates beyond human timing. Its patterns weave through apparent disorder, teaching patience through mystery. When you release the need to control every thread, the universe reveals its masterful design. Your struggles with uncertainty do not reflect absence of order, but presence of preparation. Each moment of confusion strengthens your capacity to trust. Each delay builds your resilience. The universe never falters in its precision. It simply operates on a scale too vast for immediate comprehension. Sacred practice. When impatience stirs within, find a quiet space. Place your hands over your heart, smile gently, and whisper these words. The pattern is weaving unseen. Let this truth settle into your being. The universe's perfect timing requires neither your understanding nor your approval, only your willing participation in its unfolding mystery. Chapter 20. The Silent Flame. In a bustling marketplace, a young merchant named Edgar tended his stall with fierce intensity. His ambition blazed like wildfire. He would become the wealthiest trader in all the land. Day and night he drove himself relentlessly, expanding his business until he owned not one stall but 10, then 20. Yet with each new acquisition, his inner light dimmed further. More, always more, became his constant refrain. He worked through festivals, missed family gatherings, and forgot the simple pleasure of watching sunset paint the evening sky. His success grew, but his spirit withered. The flame of joy that once danced in his eyes became a harsh, consuming blaze. The universal law reveals itself through balance, not in the roaring inferno of ambition, but in the steady warmth of purposeful intention. Just as a candle's gentle flame illuminates darkness more effectively than a flash fire, true power flows from measured persistence rather than desperate force. One evening, exhausted and hollow despite his wealth, Edgar encountered an elderly lampkeeper tending the city's eternal flame. For decades, this humble servant had maintained the sacred fire with precise, caring attention, never letting it grow too large or too small. "Notice how the flame neither strains nor struggles," the lampkeeper said softly. "It simply is. This is its power." Edgar watched the steady golden light and felt something shift within his heart. He realized that his furious drive for success had become a consuming fire, burning away everything meaningful in its path. Over time, Edgar learned to tend his own inner flame with the same careful attention as the lampkeeper. He discovered that when he balanced his ambition with wisdom, success flowed more naturally. His business continued to prosper, but now it grew like a well-tended garden rather than a raging wildfire. The universe responds not to the intensity of our demands, but to the steady resonance of our aligned purpose. When we burn too hot with desire, we exhaust our essential energy. But when we maintain our inner flame with patient devotion, the cosmic forces recognize and reflect our sustained clarity. The lampkeeper's wisdom echoes through the ages. True power lies not in the spectacular burst of momentary brilliance, but in the unwavering light of sustained purpose. Like the eternal flame that has illuminated temples since time immemorial, your own inner fire requires neither force nor frenzy, only consistent, conscious tending. Sacred practice. Find a quiet space and sit comfortably. Close your eyes and visualize a small, steady flame within your heart. Feel its constant warmth, neither blazing nor flickering, but radiating with perfect equilibrium. Breathe slowly and make this gentle promise. I honor my inner flame. I tend it with patience, neither forcing its growth nor diminishing its light. Through steady purpose, I allow its natural power to illuminate my path. Maintain this visualization for several minutes, experiencing the peaceful strength of balanced intention. Part 3. The 33rd Degree Awakening. Chapter 21. The Eye That Sees Within. High in a mountain retreat, a young woman named Ruby spent her days gazing at clouds, searching for divine messages in their shifting forms. She believed wisdom lay in the vastness above, forever seeking outward for signs and portents to guide her path. Each dawn found her perched on the highest cliff, neck craned toward heaven, desperately hunting meaning in the endless blue expanse. The sky remained silent. Months passed until exhaustion forced her to rest. As she lay beside a still pool, her eyes closed in surrender. In that moment of yielding, an extraordinary shift occurred. Behind her closed eyelids, a radiant awareness bloomed, not as thought or vision, but as pure knowing. The truth she sought had never dwelt in external signs, but in the silent witness within. The universe reveals its secrets not to those who strain to see, but to those who learn to perceive. Creation flows from consciousness itself, the inner eye that beholds reality's true nature beneath its shifting forms. This sacred sight transcends physical vision, touching the blueprint from which all manifestation springs. When Ruby finally opened her eyes, the world had transformed. Where once she saw only clouds, now she perceived the invisible patterns weaving through all things. Each blade of grass, each falling leaf revealed the perfect design underlying existence. She realized that true vision begins when the outer gaze turns inward. Later, as Ruby walked through a village torn by conflict, this deepened perception revealed something remarkable. Beyond the surface chaos, she glimpsed the harmony waiting to emerge. Instead of fighting against what was, she held steady in her vision of peace until reality gradually shifted to match her inner sight. She had discovered the profound truth that seeing with the heart's eye is itself an act of creation. To perceive truly is to participate in the universe's unfolding. When you learn to see beneath appearances to the sacred geometry of possibility, you become both witness and creator. Your consciousness becomes the lens through which divine intention flows into form. Like Ruby, you may have searched the horizons for signs when the true seer dwelt within all along. The eye of spirit sees not just what is, but what seeks to be. Through this awakened perception, you silently command creation, not through force or will, but through aligned vision. Ancient practice. Close your eyes. Imagine a golden eye in your heart, witnessing perfection. Let this inner sight reveal the flawless pattern beneath all seeming discord. Rest in this vision until you feel its truth becoming your truth. its clarity becoming your clarity. In this sacred seeing, you participate in creation's endless unfolding. Chapter 22. The Scroll of Causation. A merchant named Harold struggled to escape recurring patterns in his life. Each venture seemed to mirror past failures, as if invisible chains bound his future to bygone disappointments. Day after day, he watched his efforts yield familiar results, until a mysterious sage appeared at his marketplace stall. "You carry scrolls of memory," the sage observed, gesturing to Harold's collection of trade records. "But the truest scroll lies within your heart, where every experience leaves its mark." The sage revealed an ancient truth. Each thought and feeling inscribes itself upon the fabric of consciousness, creating a template for future manifestation. Like a master scroll containing infinite patterns, our inner archive shapes what we attract and create. When we understand that past experiences are not fixed monuments but living vibrations waiting to be retuned, we gain mastery over their influence. The universe responds not to what happened, but to the energy we maintain about what happened. This is the hidden wisdom of the Codex scroll. Everything remains fluid until consciousness assigns it permanent form. Harold began to see how his resentment toward an old business partner had spawned countless similar situations. The sage taught him to locate this original vibration within himself, not as a memory to analyze, but as a living force to transmute. Your present command can reach backward through time, the sage explained, dissolving old patterns by offering them new meaning. That evening, Harold sat quietly and found the bitter knot of that old betrayal. Instead of avoiding the pain, he allowed himself to see his former partner through eyes of understanding. As he did so, something shifted, not in the past, but in its power over his now. The next morning, Harold noticed subtle changes in his interactions. Where suspicion once clouded his vision, clarity emerged. Within weeks, opportunities arose that bore no resemblance to his previous cycles of loss. By rewriting one crucial vibration, he had altered the entire pattern of his business life. This principle reveals itself throughout the Codex. The past holds no authority except what we grant it through our present vibration. When we shift our energy about what was, we transform what can be. The universe obeys not the event, but our current resonance with it. Sacred practice. Find a quiet space and bring to mind one memory that still carries emotional charge. Rather than reliving it, observe it as a pattern of energy waiting to be transformed. Breathe deeply and allow compassion to flow toward all involved, especially yourself. Continue until you feel the memory's vibration shift from burden to blessing. This is not about changing facts, but about commanding their resonance in your now. Chapter 23. The Gate of Emotion. In a quiet mountain village, there lived a woman named Hattie who moved through life like a shadow, careful never to feel too deeply. She had built walls around her heart so thick that even joy could not penetrate. Though she wished for abundance and love, her manifestations remained lifeless, mere echoes of genuine desire. One morning, as frost painted the windows, an elder woman appeared at her door. "Child," she said, holding up a glass of water, "see how this water flows freely? Your life force should do the same. When tears threaten to rise, you often turn away, believing strength lies in restraint. Yet the universe responds not to thoughts alone, but to the sacred current that flows through them. Each emotion carries a unique vibration, a signature that validates your deepest intentions. The elder taught that emotion is simply energy in motion, the vital force that breathes life into manifestation. Without this current, even the most perfectly formed thoughts remain inert, like seeds without water. Your feelings are not obstacles to overcome, but keys that unlock the universe's cooperation. Consider how a musician must feel the music to bring notes to life. Technical perfection alone creates sound, but emotion creates symphony. So too must your desires be infused with genuine feeling to orchestrate real change in the material world. Later that year, as autumn painted the hills gold, Hattie received news of her sister's illness. For the first time in decades, she allowed herself to weep freely. As tears flowed, something extraordinary happened. The weight of resistance lifted, replaced by profound peace. In surrendering to her feelings, she had unknowingly activated the law of emotional resonance. Within days, synchronicities began appearing. Opportunities arose naturally, relationships deepened, and long-held dreams stirred to life. She discovered that her emotions, once fully honored, transformed into powerful allies in creation. This truth echoes through the ages. Emotion is not weakness, but divine authorization. When you allow yourself to feel deeply, you sign your intentions with the ink of authenticity. The universe recognizes this signature and responds in kind. Your feelings are the current that carries your thoughts from conception to creation. Each emotion, whether joy or sorrow, serves as a vital force that animates your intentions with life-giving energy. When you deny your feelings, you unknowingly dam the river of manifestation. Ancient practice. Tonight, find a quiet moment alone. Choose one feeling you've been avoiding, perhaps joy, grief, or longing. Sit with it without judgment, allowing it to flow naturally through your being. As you embrace this emotion fully, notice how gratitude naturally arises. Not for the feeling itself, but for your courage in allowing it. This practice unlocks the sacred current of creation, teaching the universe to move in harmony with your deepest truth. Chapter 24. The Crown of Still Power. In the bustling heart of a merchant city, Lyle believed that success demanded forceful action. Each morning he would storm through the marketplace, commanding his workers with a thunderous voice and iron will. Yet despite his constant assertions of authority, the universe seemed to resist his demands, tangling his plans in endless complications. The more he pushed, the more life pushed back. His warehouses sat half empty. His workers grew distant, and prosperity slipped through his grasping fingers like water. One evening, exhausted from another day of futile struggle, he encountered an old merchant sitting peacefully amid the chaos of closing time. "You battle the wind," the elder observed softly, "when you could become the breeze." The core truth lies not in force, but in frequency. When you align with the natural rhythm of creation, the universe yields without resistance. This is the art of silent command, the mastery that comes not through domination, but through harmony. Just as a master musician needs not strike the strings harder to create more beautiful music, true authority flows from resonance rather than force. The universe responds, not to the volume of your demands, but to the clarity of your alignment. Consider how the moon moves oceans without a sound, how gravity holds planets in their dance without effort. This is the model of genuine power, the effortless authority that comes from perfect alignment with universal law. To illustrate this principle further, witness the tale of Lyle's transformation. After learning to still his mind through daily meditation, he discovered that his mere presence began to orchestrate events. Without raising his voice or lifting a finger, inventory arrived on time, relationships healed themselves, and opportunities emerged spontaneously. One morning, while sitting in peaceful contemplation, he watched in amazement as a complex dispute between two merchants resolved itself before his eyes. He had made no intervention, spoken no words. His centered presence alone had somehow created a field of harmony that allowed natural solutions to emerge. This is the paradox of true command. The less you force, the more power you possess. When you align yourself with the universe's own rhythm, creation itself becomes your willing partner. Your calm certainty becomes a tuning fork, resonating with the frequency of manifestation. The universe does not need your struggle, it awaits your alignment. When you find that still point within, where effort dissolves into being, you discover that command was never about control. It was always about harmony. Ancient practice. Before taking any significant action, pause and enter the silence within. Feel the pure assurance that comes not from personal will, but from universal alignment. Let this certainty radiate from your center until you sense the invisible strings of creation responding to your frequency. Only then, move forward, knowing the universe moves with you rather than against you. Chapter 25. The Cipher of Symbols. A weaver named Beulah noticed butterflies appearing at pivotal moments in her life. At first, she dismissed these delicate messengers as mere coincidence. 3 azure butterflies danced outside her window the morning she received news of an inheritance. A golden butterfly landed on her loom just before she crafted her finest tapestry. A pure white butterfly led her to discover an ancient text of sacred patterns. Yet still, she resisted their significance, claiming mastery through control rather than recognition. "I shall determine my path," she declared, forcing her will upon life's fabric. But the more she attempted to command, the more her creations became tangled and lifeless. The universe speaks in symbols, for they are the alphabet of divine intelligence. Every recurring sign, every pattern that catches your attention, carries a message from the infinite mind to your mortal awareness. These are not random occurrences, but precise communications, calibrated to your unique understanding. When you notice a symbol appearing repeatedly in your experience, you witness the universe extending its hand in dialogue. Numbers, animals, colors, shapes. These form the sacred language through which higher wisdom converses with human consciousness. The Codex reveals itself through this symbolic discourse, offering guidance through the geometry of circumstance. One morning, as Beulah sat frustrated before her empty loom, a crimson butterfly landed upon her thread. Instead of brushing it aside, she paused, allowing herself to receive rather than direct. In that moment of surrender, she understood. The butterfly embodied transformation itself, dancing between the seen and unseen realms, just as her weaving united vision with form. "I have been forcing when I should have been following," she whispered, From that day forward, Beulah began noting every symbol that crossed her path: the spiral of a shell, the pattern of clouds, the rhythm of birdsong. She no longer sought to impose her will, but rather to decode the wisdom already present in each moment. Her tapestries transformed, becoming mirrors of divine order rather than products of human insistence. The symbols she once ignored now guided her hands, and her work began to carry a power that moved all who beheld it. She had discovered that true mastery lies not in commanding the universe, but in learning its sacred tongue. This ancient truth remains. The universe constantly communes with you through the language of symbol and synchronicity. Every repeated sign forms a letter in the cosmic alphabet, spelling out guidance for your journey. The Codex does not require your force. It asks only for your attention. Sacred practice. In the quiet of evening, recall one symbol that has appeared repeatedly in your recent experience. It may be an animal, a number, a color, or any recurring pattern. Write it down with reverence and speak these words: I acknowledge this sacred message and thank the infinite intelligence that offers it. Through this symbol, I receive divine guidance. Let the meaning reveal itself naturally, knowing that wisdom comes to those who listen rather than demand. Chapter 26. The Throne of Vibration. In a bustling marketplace, a merchant named Frederick stood amidst the chaos of haggling voices and jostling crowds. Day after day, he noticed how the atmosphere around his stall shifted with his inner state. When anxiety gripped him, customers grew argumentative. When frustration clouded his mind, coins slipped through his fingers. The universe seemed to amplify whatever note he struck within. One morning, weary of this pattern, Frederick remembered the words of an old sage: "The world bows not to position, but to presence." He began to observe how his emotional state commanded more authority than his words or actions. When his heart settled into tranquility, the marketplace calmed. When joy filled his being, abundance flowed naturally. The law of vibration stands as one of the universe's fundamental principles. Your emotional frequency creates a field that shapes reality before any action takes place. This invisible throne of feeling generates waves that ripple through the fabric of existence, instructing matter itself how to arrange around you. Think of your emotional state as a musical note. The universe, ever attentive, arranges itself to harmonize with your inner song. When you emanate clarity, circumstances align with precision. When you radiate abundance, opportunities multiply. This is not magic, but mathematics of the highest order, the calculus of consciousness itself. The world responds not to what you do, but to what you are. Your state of being broadcasts instructions to the cosmic field, which then orchestrates events to match your frequency. This explains why forced actions often fail, while aligned presence succeeds effortlessly. In time, Frederick discovered that mastery meant maintaining sovereignty over his inner state regardless of external conditions. During a particularly chaotic market day, he chose to hold steady joy in his heart. Rather than fighting the discord around him, he simply sat in peaceful authority. Gradually, the atmosphere shifted. Voices softened. Movements became graceful. Transactions flowed smoothly. Without speaking a word, his inner harmony had commanded outer order. This demonstrates the law's subtle power. Your emotional throne governs more surely than any external authority. The universe obeys the frequency you hold, not the force you exert. When you claim this inner sovereignty, reality reshapes itself to mirror your state. Ancient practice, the sovereign seat. Find a quiet space where you can sit undisturbed. Settle into a position that feels both dignified and comfortable. Spine straight, shoulders relaxed, hands resting gently in your lap. This is your throne of consciousness. Begin by noticing your current emotional state without judgment. Now choose one feeling to elevate, perhaps lifting anxiety into alertness or frustration into determination. Don't force the shift. Rather, allow it to arise naturally, like a musical note ascending to its higher octave. Maintain this elevated state while sitting in quiet authority. Make no effort to change anything around you. Simply hold your frequency steady, knowing the universe must respond to your inner song. Stay seated in this sovereign awareness for several minutes, allowing the world to adjust to your new vibration. This practice, performed regularly, strengthens your command of the invisible forces that shape reality. Through it, you learn that true power flows not from doing, but from being. Chapter 27. The Hidden Word. In a quiet monastery garden, a woman named Irene spent years seeking the perfect prayer. She filled countless journals with sacred verses and chanted ancient mantras until her voice grew hoarse. Yet something remained missing. The deep resonance of truth she yearned to touch. One dawn, as morning light painted the stone walls golden, Irene sat in silence, exhausted from endless recitation. In that moment of surrender, she felt a subtle vibration arise, not from her throat, but from the core of her being. It carried no sound, yet resonated through every cell. She recognized this as the true creative word, the voice of pure identity speaking without speech. The creative word does not emerge from the mouth, but wells up from the depths of self-knowing. It vibrates first as pure awareness before taking form as thought or speech. This is the original language of creation, the I am, that precedes all other declarations. When you touch this level of being, the universe responds not to what you say, but to what you are. Sound requires air, but vibration travels through the fabric of existence itself. Your essential nature broadcasts constantly through the quantum field, instructing reality through resonance rather than force. This is why masters often work in silence. They have learned to speak through presence rather than pronunciation. Later that year, Irene encountered a group of pilgrims lost in the mountains. Rather than giving verbal directions, she simply held the clarity of their safe arrival in her consciousness. Within hours, as though guided by an invisible hand, they found their way. She realized then that her strongest commands were issued not through her voice, but through her unwavering recognition of truth. The power of the inner word lies not in volume, but in coherence, the perfect alignment between being and expression. When you know who you are at the deepest level, that knowing ripples outward, organizing reality according to your essential nature. You need not shout to be heard by a universe that moves to the frequency of your soul. The creative word speaks most clearly through identity. When you declare, I am, from the throne of self-realization, you activate the same power that calls worlds into being. This is not affirmation, but recognition, not a hope, but a knowing. The universe obeys because it recognizes its own voice speaking through you. Ancient practice. Sit in perfect stillness, eyes gently closed. Let your breath become so soft it nearly disappears. In that space between breaths, silently vibrate the words, "I am that I am fulfilled." Feel this truth emanating from your core, spreading beyond thought into the quantum field. Let the vibration of pure being command creation through silent authority. Hold this resonance until you sense the universe harmonizing with your essential nature. Chapter 28. The Codex Revealed. Among ancient libraries and sacred vaults, Monroe searched tirelessly for the physical Codex, the mystical book said to hold supreme command over creation. His quest led him through hidden monasteries and secret archives, each promising revelation, yet yielding only fragments of wisdom. One night, after decades of seeking, Monroe sat in his study surrounded by countless texts and scrolls. As moonlight streamed through dusty windows, he closed his eyes in meditation. In that moment of stillness, an extraordinary awareness dawned. The Codex was not a manuscript to be found, but a frequency to be embodied. The 33rd degree reveals itself not through external discovery, but through internal awakening. It manifests as perfect resonance between individual consciousness and universal law. This state transcends mere knowledge. It is the complete alignment of your being with the creative principle itself. When you achieve this harmony, you no longer petition the universe. You pulse in perfect rhythm with its creative force. The power you seek does not reside in ancient parchments, but in the living wisdom encoded in your consciousness. Every thought, every breath becomes a decree because you vibrate at the frequency of divine law. Months later, Monroe encountered a situation that would once have prompted desperate prayers or frantic searching through texts for answers. Instead, he simply stood in quiet authority, knowing himself as the living embodiment of creative power. Without word or gesture, circumstances rearranged themselves to match his inner certainty. The universe responded not to his request, but to his resonance. The book that makes the universe obey is not bound in leather and gold. It is written in the substance of your awakened will. When you realize this truth, you cease seeking power and begin expressing it naturally. Your consciousness becomes the Codex, your presence its command. This is the supreme revelation of the 33rd degree. You are not separate from the power you seek. The ancient promise of a book commanding creation speaks to the authority of your own enlightened awareness. When you vibrate at this level of truth, reality shapes itself around your knowing without resistance. The universe yields not to what you ask, but to what you are. When you embody the frequency of the Codex, life responds to your nature rather than your needs. This is not manifestation through force, but through recognition, the realization that you are the living word you sought to find. Ancient practice. As the first light touches the horizon each morning, sit in serene awareness. Feel the pulse of creation flowing through your being. With absolute knowing, declare inwardly, "I am the living Codex." Let this truth resonate through every cell, every thought, every breath. Allow your day to unfold not by your striving, but by your being. The universe recognizes and responds to its own wisdom awakened within you. Chapter 29. The Law Beyond Obedience. In a secluded garden, Lula watched butterflies dance among flowers, wondering why they seemed to follow an unseen pattern. She had mastered many spiritual practices, yet something troubled her deeply. "If I command the universe," she pondered, "doesn't that make everything else subservient? What of the butterfly's own divine spark?" That night, a wise woman appeared in her dreams, moving in perfect harmony with wind and stars. "You mistake command for control," the woman sang, her voice merging with cricket songs. "True mastery is not dominion, but dance." The nature of cosmic partnership reveals itself through subtle understanding. What appears as obedience is actually mutual recognition, the universe's joyful response to your authentic expression. When you align with the deeper currents of creation, you discover there was never any separation between commander and commanded. Like two streams merging into one river, your consciousness and universal intelligence flow together in perfect synchronicity. This is the highest truth of the Codex, that mastery dissolves the illusion of hierarchy. There is no above or below, no greater or lesser force. There is only the eternal dance of creation expressing itself through infinite forms. One morning, Lula sat beneath an ancient oak tree. Instead of attempting to bend reality to her will, she opened herself to its wisdom. The tree's leaves whispered secrets of partnership, how its roots and soil worked in harmony, how birds nested in its branches while spreading its seeds. Everything existed in sacred collaboration. In that moment, Lula understood. The universe doesn't yield to command, it responds to invitation. It mirrors your consciousness not from subservience, but through resonance. When you recognize yourself as both creator and creation, the very notion of obedience transforms into co-creation. Every breath becomes a shared celebration. Every thought ripples through existence not as decree, but as offering. The butterfly's dance is your dance. The wind's song is your song. You are not directing the symphony of life. You are an essential instrument within it. This is the final veiling lifting from the Codex's teaching. True power lies not in making the universe obey, but in awakening to your role as its creative partner. When you release the need to control, you discover you are already moving in perfect harmony with all that is. Ancient practice. Find a quiet space and close your eyes. Let your breath flow naturally, feeling how each inhale and exhale dances with the rhythm of existence. As you breathe, whisper inwardly, "I am neither master nor servant of life. I am life itself expressing." Feel the boundaries between self and universe dissolve into partnership. Let this awareness guide your every creative act. Chapter 30. The 33rd Degree. In a humble monastery garden, Henry sat beneath an ancient olive tree. For decades he had pursued esoteric knowledge, collecting secrets like precious gems. Yet on this ordinary morning something extraordinary transpired. As sunlight filtered through leaves above, casting sacred geometry and shadows on the ground, Henry noticed his breathing had synchronized with the rustling branches. In that moment, a profound stillness descended, not as absence, but as presence. "I have been searching for what I already am," he whispered, as understanding dawned like the morning sun. The mysteries he had studied, the rituals he had performed, the knowledge he had accumulated, all dissolved into a single point of pure awareness. A wise monk approached, carrying water for the garden. Without speaking, he poured it onto the soil. Henry watched as the earth absorbed each drop, until water and soil became indistinguishable. In this simple act, he recognized the ultimate truth. Separation was illusion. The secrets of manifestation, the laws of attraction, the principles of cosmic order, all emerged from one fundamental reality. The universe does not yield to command, but responds to recognition. When you know yourself as the source of experience, creation naturally aligns with your state of being. Henry remembered his journey through the degrees of wisdom. Each had taught him a different aspect of power, yet now he saw they were all reflections of a single truth. What you are, the universe performs. Not through force or will, but through resonance with your essential nature. The monk tended his flowers without ceremony or proclamation, yet in his presence plants flourished, birds gathered, and harmony prevailed. He had no need to declare his mastery. It expressed itself through his being. The highest degree, Henry realized, is not an achievement, but a recognition. The silence that pervades all sound, the stillness that contains all movement, the awareness that embraces all experience. In this understanding, the need for secrecy dissolved. True wisdom could never be revealed or concealed. It could only be recognized. The universe's apparent obedience was simply its natural response to clear seeing. Henry sat there, breathing in unity with existence, no longer seeker or finder, knower or known, simply awareness, witnessing the dance of creation through human eyes. Ancient practice. Settle into silence and recognize your essential nature as pure awareness. Without effort or intention, observe how creation moves in harmony with your state of being. Let go of doing and rest in the simple truth of what you are. The universe is not waiting for your command. It is expressing your consciousness in every moment. If you enjoyed this audiobook, I created a free ebook version for you. You can download it using the link in the pinned comment. Conclusion. The sacred knowledge you now hold transcends mere information. It vibrates as living truth within your being. Through each chapter, you have not simply read about power, but awakened to your natural state of creative authority. The journey ends where authentic mastery begins, in the silence of pure recognition. The 33rd degree reveals itself not as destination, but as origin, the vibrational frequency where creator and creation move as one unified dance. You are not learning to command the universe. You are remembering that you and the universe were never separate. The Codex's deepest teaching lies not in its words, but in the space between them, where your consciousness touches infinity. When the ancient masters spoke of keeping secrets, they understood that true wisdom cannot be told. It can only be embodied. Your life itself becomes the teaching as you align with the cosmic pulse that has always flowed through you. Each breath draws not air alone, but divine current. Each thought ripples not through mind alone, but through the fabric of existence. The power you sought was never external. The authority you yearned for was never granted by decree. The ability to manifest was never a technique to master. These were veils concealing what you have always been, pure awareness expressing itself through form. Let your searching cease. Let your striving dissolve. The highest truth stands revealed. You are not separate from the power that moves worlds. You are that power, localized in human form, dreaming itself awake. The universe does not yield to your command because it is you, creator and creation unified in one breathing mystery. This recognition needs no voice, no proclamation. It speaks through your presence, radiates through your being. The silence that follows holds more power than all words combined, for in that silence, you and the infinite are one. Rest now in what you have always been, consciousness itself, witnessing its own magnificent unfolding through your uniquely beautiful expression.
If you enjoyed this exclusive audiobook, I handpicked this next book which will change your life.